Hello, I'm Lisa,
I'm Cryss.
and this is episode 64 of the Three of Skeins podcast.
Are you sure it's not 63?
We'll find out. I'm pretty sure it's 64, but I could be wrong. If we are, the sky will not fall. Hey, everybody. Opening shenanigans as always. See, we will never need to do a blooper reel because we just bloop all over the place.
So, what's going on with you?
Well, let's see. I am hosting a knit along. So, here's the gist of it. It's very loosey goosey. There are very few rules. The only thing I'm going to suggest is that you make a drop shoulder sweater. The one I am making is called
The Weekender?
Thank you. The Weekender sweater by Andrea Mowry. One of my making themes for this year is comfort. So I want to make at least 2 sweatshirt replacement type sweaters. And the Weekender is my first one. So if you are interested, join on in. I can't wait to see what you come up with.
You want to tell them a date?
Yes. We're casting on. This is the only firm thing. We're casting on the 29th. But if you can't cast of January, if you can't cast on that day, it's loosey goosey. Cast on the next day. It's fine. Well, I host a sit and stitch on Sundays. If you want to sit and stitch with other people, zoom on in and join us. It'll be fun to see what everybody's doing.
Is there a hashtag on Instagram?
Oh, I'll make one up right now. Loosey Goosey 2023. I'll
Loosey Goosey KAL?
Sure. Loosey Goosey KAL 2023. I like that. Okay, great. I'll write that down so I remember.
Go watch the video back.
I'll watch the video back.
Okay. Well, I wasn't planning to make a sweater.
But you see what happened was
Mom, the third Skein herself, said that she was going to make this sweater too. And I was like, well, if Mom's going to make one and Lisa's going to make one, I didn't want to left out. So we all go out and they're wearing their matching sweaters and then I don't have one. That can't happen.
That cannot stand.
So I guess I'll be crocheting a version of it as well.
And Mom's going to do it in Tunisian. I think that's what she said, right?
Yeah. And I think I haven't swatched a darn thing, but I think I'm using Morocco Chai. Probably not this color. I have this in red. And I'll probably be making it in the red. But this is linen and silk. And it's a DK weight. And like I said, I think I might make it in more than one color. I might color block it or something. Or just add some. There'll be at least 2 colors in there, I think. That's what I'm planning.
Give it some pizzazz.
Yeah.
Oh, I just need to let you know I'm doing mine in red too. But I had chosen my red ages ago. Just so you know. Because someone is quick to accuse people of biting off of her.
Because sometimes people be biting off of me. That's why. But yeah, so I feel pressured because
this is loosey goosey.
I didn't even say that, but I don't like that. I do neither loosey nor goosey.
I know.
Okay? So
yeah, for real. You know what? Now you can practice your loosey goosiness. You know what? I'll tell you what. Cast on the 30th. Break the rule. You're gonna love it.
This is real. Well, yeah, that's the make along.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which is gonna overlap with your shawl.
It sure is.
See, you see how she's already planning to work on 2 projects at the same time when we have already established that she is more productive when she works on one thing at a time. So we're going to see how this goes because this looks like your shawl is very county.
It is. And the sweater is not. And I think that's going to be a good balance for me. So when I'm in a good space to count and pay attention, I have the shawl. And when I'm not, I have a nice worsted weight sweater.
We'll see how this goes.
See, you already trying to put the whammy on me.
No, we know from experiences. So you do better with period of time.
Mm,
What happened to these socks?
damn bag.
Yeah. Because she was trying to work on the socks while working on like 2 other projects, and some things fall by the wayside.
It did. It did. All right. There we go. We'll see. It should be fine.
Okay.
It should be fine.
Speaking of your shawl.
Well, last week I had to rip back. Now, last week I was planning to rip back to about here, but I ended up ripping back to there.
Oh.
Yeah. You know what it was?
What was it?
You see how it has these columns of stitches? I was ignoring the fact that I was like one off and they were slightly offset. So I was just going to rip back until, I was back to where they were. But it was hard to count from there. So I was like, you know what? I know this part is definitely 100% correct. So I just ripped back to that first little thing. And the shawl is so small at this point, it really didn't take all that long to knit back to pretty much where I was. And I started doing the small
many
cables.
colors of yarn are you attached to right now?
All 5.
Oh.
But it's only for this one section that you use all 5 colors.
Mm.
And then you just drop back down to using 2 colors in each section. And you repeat this 5 color section 3 times.
See, the rest of mine just works differently.
It's not bad though, because I'm not really carrying all of the yarn along. I'm really just picking up a strand when I need it.
Okay.
Now, like he said in his video, you want to make sure that you're not picking up the strand tightly. You
So
still
is
want
this
to.
impartial? What do you? It's not stranded.
I guess technically it is intarsia because you're having several different yarn sources.
But the ones you're not using, are you stitching over them?
No,
Okay.
they just dangle.
Okay.
And I pick them up as I need them. So what I am going to have is a little strand of yarn that's hiding right here that's going to run up the side like this. And it'll be different colors. But it hides under the curl of the edge. So it's actually pretty nice. But like I said, you don't want to pull that yarn tight as you pick it up. You want to maintain the edge's ability to stretch. And if you can stretch it out so that it becomes nice and straight, you've left enough slack in the yarn. But I had gotten really excited about this, and I stayed up knitting on it way too late. And you see, I got to the first cable, right? And I looked up, and OMG, it's 1 o'clock. So I said, you know what? Let me stop. Let me quit while I'm ahead. This cable is absolutely correct. And I didn't have any guarantees for the next one. So I just put it down and said, all right, let me move on to sleep. I wasn't moving on to anything else. I moved on to my bed. But it's been sat down, so everything's a tangle now. So the first thing I'll do when I get back to work on it is untangle this situation. And once again, I am working from a tray, not from a bag, just as a way to keep everything separate. So when I do pick up a color, I move it so that it's furthest to the right. So that all the other colors, the other 4 colors are sitting over there, and the color I'm using is sitting over here. And that keeps that particular color free of the tangle. And if I keep discombobulating them as I go, I never end up, with them all tied in a knot laughing at me. Sometimes when it misbehaves, it gets right tickled by the situation.
I'll tell people that.
And once again, loving how the colors are working. I wasn't 100% sure of these color choices, but now I am 100% on board. Oh, one last thing. I have a ball of orange sewing thread. My needle has that little hole in it. And what that little hole is for you to run lifelines easily through your work. So I threaded the sewing thread through the little hole in the needle. Let's see, there it is.
That teeny tiny little hole?
Yeah, that's why I use sewing thread.
Oh.
And as I knit, it just pulled the lifeline right through all the stitches. You don't even have to go back with a tapestry needle and do it. And I left my lifelines in. They're very small. Crystal's like, I don't see it. Let me see if I can show you one. Here's one right here. It goes right across here.
Oh, okay. I kind of slowly see it.
Yeah. But that's all you need, because this is not a visual marker. This is, if I had to rip back,
out,
it would
stop.
catch. Yeah.
Okay.
It will stop.
So are you going to leave these in?
For now, yeah.
I mean, when your shawl is done.
No, you pull them out. It will slide right out. Now, what I also do is when I put in a lifeline, I like to be strategic about it. And there's one I put in that was a row that was all pearls, just so it would be easy to just pick up and go. Also, I write on the pattern where I put in a lifeline. Just next to the line of the pattern, I put like 4 dashes, and that, to me, that means lifeline. So now I know precisely what row I'm in if I have to rip out, and what row is next. I don't have to guess, because I've guessed wrong in the past. So that's just a tip that you can use, you know. And I went with orange because literally the only color I don't have in this show. What's going on with you?
So I'm working on my top. The inspiration was this picture from a shopping at the Korean online mall. And it's basically a shrug. I mean, you pull it over your head. It's not, you put it on like a jacket, but
Right.
It's just something that's meant to cover the shoulders and the arms. So the front, it has this, it's 2 pieces that like overlap in the front. And then the back is just, you know, a rectangular panel. And that is the inspo for what I'm making right now. So I finished the back.
Okay.
And here it is. So I am making it like oversized. You see my bottom edge?
I see it's all curved.
You see that gentle slope?
I see the shaping.
So that was one of the things I'm working on. I'm trying to practice my shaping. And specifically, like, you know, because I can do straight lines, but curved shaping is something that I have struggled with. So what you should know is that this bottom edge that I did, I just made it up. I just fudged it. This is why I couldn't write patterns, because I was just like, well, let's see if this works. I was just stitching away. But I like the shape that it gave me.
So what math did you do to make that occur? Because it is very evenly shaped. Oh. See, you're not math-based in this case. So you were just visually shaping it.
Yeah, kind of. What I ended up doing was I would do, what do you call them? Slip stitches? Yes. I was doing some slip stitches I would do like 5 at the beginning of the row, and then do singles, and then another 5 at the end of the row. Then for my next row, I did 10 slip stitches. So I was covering up, you know, some of those single crochets, and then single in the middle, and then slip stitches at the end. And I just kept adding more slip stitches at either end. So what I was getting were rows that had stitches that were 2 different heights. I was getting the slip stitch height, and then I was getting the single crochet height. And that was giving me my curved shape.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I counted how many slip stitches I did. So there was numbers there. But I didn't try to like calculate, you know, the width at the beginning of the piece and the width at the end of the piece, and figure out how many stitches to decrease.
So technically speaking, is that actually a decrease? Because you still have the same number of stitches. You just use the height of the stitches.
When I did my single crochets, I did do some decreases to, you know, proper, you know, two stitches in one. Working 1 stitch over 2 rather. Decreases. So I was also decreasing in the center panel, in the center of this each row. I was also doing decreases. And so I was kind of shaping and decreasing, shaping and decreasing. I don't know if that's the right way to do that.
There's no option really for that in knitting. I'm thinking about when I want to shape something as a knitter, I am always decreasing stitches one way or the other. Even if I'm doing short rows, when I do the wrap and turn, I don't officially do a decrease by, you know, knitting 2 stitches together or something, but I'm not going to the end of the row. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I don't know. This strikes me almost as a situation where you're doing both decreases and short rows.
That's what I was trying to figure out as I was doing it. I was like, am I, because I'm using these slip stitches, am I doing short rows? Because I tried to make the shawl once that had like proper short rows in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's similar. I don't know if I did short rows.
That's what it sounds like
I
you're
don't-
describing to me.
I don't know.
That sounds like a short row technique.
It worked.
Because it's curved and it's a very gentle
Right.
curve.
So the trick now will be to see if this technique is reproducible.
Mm-hmm.
So the front panels are also gonna be curved, and we'll see how that goes. I literally just made it up as I was going along, and it just happened to work out.
Mm-hmm.
I think I should have started the shaping a little bit sooner, but just to get kind of like a deeper bowl shape, this is like a very shallow curve,
Yeah.
and I could have taken it up a little bit further, but I'm just happy that it's not a straight edge. That worked out. But I feel like I'm gonna like try to like play around with what I did with like a swatch or something,
Mm-hmm.
and figure out if what I did was short rows, because
Yeah.
I don't know.
What book would you go to for that to see short row techniques, to see if what you did
know,
matches?
because I'm trying to think if I have come across crochet short rows in any of my pattern books, because the shawl I had attempted, that was from an online pattern that I bought.
Mm.
And I know I have one pattern in a book that uses short rows. It's for like this cute cowl neck jackety thing. So maybe I'll take a look at that pattern.
Yeah.
But the first time I attempted that, it was like very early in my garment making, and I couldn't understand short rows, so I never made that piece. But that's one thing I know I can reference, and I guess maybe I'll look for some YouTube videos or something.
Yeah, try the crochet answer book.
But I haven't seen a lot of people talking about crochet short rows. That's just another thing, you know, we get left out of. It's fine though. But yeah, I don't know if what I did a short rows. Isn't that weird? I don't know what I did. I honestly, I was surprised it worked.
Yeah, because like I said, what you described sounds like short rows.
So, well, yeah, I'm gonna try to recreate what I did and hopefully learn how to explain it a little bit better. But I hate working with slip stitches. You know, they can be tight to work into. I tend to crochet tight, and so I often forget to make my slip stitches a little bit looser.
Mm-hmm.
And then where you work into in a slip stitch is also a little weird. So because technically you kind of have 3 loops, and you have to like pick which 2 you're going to work on. I hate slip stitches. I really hate them, and I don't want this to be like what I have to do the kind of shaping I want.
No.
But we'll see how it goes.
There's usually more than one way to get there.
To shape a cat.
Yeah, to shape a cat.
But yeah, I did it. That's the crazy thing. I don't know why it worked.
Yeah.
And you know, that's like why teachers always tell you show your work, because you can just write an answer and get the points, but they know you didn't understand. And, and that's where I am right now. I did a thing. I don't necessarily understand why it worked and why it gave me the curved shape that I was seeking. So I am going to just have to play around with that a little bit and figure that out. But
great job.
Yeah. I finished the back.
And I noticed you had blocked it too. What were you blocking it for?
To set my curve, because those slip stitches, again, they're tight, so it was causing a little bit of curling. Mm-hmm. So I was almost getting like this weird like pocket shape. So I had to just block that out, so it lays mostly flat now. I think I should have probably sprayed it with a little more, because I just use a steam. I almost always steam block unless there's a specific reason to do otherwise. I think I could have, you know, dampened it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I may end up blocking this again. But yeah, just to to set my crochet.
Cool. I can't wait to see how the fronts go.
I'm worried. What today is what, the 20th or 21st? The 20th?
I think it's the 20th. Yep.
20th. So I'm gonna try to finish it before I start the make along.
Wow.
Because I don't like working on more than one thing at a time. If I can figure out the front, the sleeves, I'll just do rectangles. That won't be an issue. As long as I can. And the front panels, I'll just be making 2 of the same thing. So I really only need to figure out the front once.
Yes.
And then I can do it twice. And hopefully it'll be okay. So, wish me luck.
Good luck.
So, that is my first one of the year. That's so exciting for some reason. Because last year, after I made the leg warmers for the winter hop, I finished those like mid-December. Y'all, I didn't touch a hook. I did not pick up any crochet. I didn't swatch anything. I didn't do anything with crochet for the last 2 weeks of the year, which was nice. So I felt a little like, a little weird getting back into it. But, it's still fun. It's something I still very much enjoy. So once I got over the inertia, I was just like, oh, okay, I'm crocheting again. Yay.
That's funny because I kind of work a little different. When you are working on something, you work on it pretty much every day.
I try to.
I take little micro breaks in a project. So I may have 2 or 3 days I don't work on the project, sometimes a week. So maybe I'm doing other things. I'm a little busy. But I think those breaks create less burnout for me by the end of the year, because when we looked at it, you did pretty much work on something all year long, one thing after another thing after another thing, and then your work style is so intense that
I'm working at this. It's finer gauge. You tend to use the heavier weight yarn, so I feel like I make progress in smaller increments. So if I don't work on it every day, I feel like it's going to take so much longer for me to have a finished thing. If you're working at a worsted weight, you get several inches in one session.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like my finger and weight yarn be mean mugging me. It's just like, if you want to see a garment, sweetie, you might want to pick up your hook. But yeah, I tend to kind of power through. But I do enjoy it. It didn't feel like that effortful somehow until like the end of the year.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was just kind of the added strain of having to figure out how to do everything and then doing the troubleshooting while you're working. Sometimes I'm like, it would be nice to have a pattern.
Yeah. I think it would be interesting for you this year to do a mix so that you can just do less work.
Because one of the sweaters I showed in our 10 sweaters video, I was like, I really like that. I think I want to make that.
Yeah.
So I may end up making something in a pattern this year just because I really do like that particular pattern.
Girl, there's already another sweater in the 10 sweaters video that I'm planning to make right after this one. It's like, I really like that sweater.
I mean, I picked them for a reason. Those were all sweaters that like I was really into. So what were we talking about last night? We had a discussion about magazines.
Oh yeah. You know what? I have always been a magazine collector. So as a teenager,
you get that from mom.
Yeah. I got 17 and moved up to Glamour and Allure and all of that. But when I started knitting, I started collecting the knitting magazines. And over time, I learned what my preferences were, because there are magazines that specialize in pretty pictures, and there are magazines that gave more information. And I feel like a lot of the knitting magazines in Knit World don't really give the kind of information I was looking for, you know?
I know the crochet magazines, so I tell you that.
They focus more on pretty pictures. And while the pretty pictures are inspiring, let me not act like I don't like a pretty picture, because I do. um, I wish we had in Knitting World a magazine that's kind of like Threads in Sewing World. Um, they do really good tutorials, in-depth articles. You can learn about fashion history in that magazine, and they relate it to. And you know what the other one is that I really like? Now they make fun of me for reading this.
Bell Book and Paper.
No, not Bell Book and Paper. Thank you very much. Uh, what is it called? You know, the one that doesn't have a lot of pictures that you guys don't like. Piecework. There it is. Yeah, see, it just came back to her. But I do. Piecework is one of my favorite magazines because you'll get a historical overview of a particular kind of needle art. Then you will get a small project where you can try out that, whatever that art is. I mean, there are certain things that I will probably, that I will actually never do. But
probably to actually
no, I'm not gonna do that. But if you wanted to just dabble, you could just use a very small thing with, that you can do with very basic techniques, and they will guide you through it. So for me, that is kind of ideal. But in most of the popular Yarn World magazines, that's not what you're getting. Knitting also does good tutorials, and they have a year's back catalog of tutorials and articles that are really informative.
We were having this conversation in the context of how much sense does it make to start up a new knitting and crochet magazine right now? Because I argue that I don't know that it does make a ton of sense. Paper magazines are struggling right now. And you have two sources of revenue. You have advertisers and you have subscribers or buyers of the magazine. And when you're talking about like a super small niche with a super small audience, it's going to be harder to attract both of those. And I feel like a lot of them they're a similar style. Like in terms of like everybody's always in the woods in the pictures. I don't know why we're all taking our knitting and crochet into the woods.
That's a specialty for you.
Yeah. It is, but every single time, like every issue, every photo, like I like greenery, I like landscapes. Like Lina always has like really, or it's Lina, right? Or most people say Lane, but it had very pretty backgrounds with mountains and stuff, but that's not what we do. That's not how we wear our stuff. We go to the supermarket and we go to people's homes and we go to school and church or whatever it is we do in our garments.
Most of us are not on a windswept plane.
No. Anywhere. And so with those particular aesthetics in mind, I just feel like you're narrowing your reach. And how do you, if you are trying to like shape a certain lifestyle around knitting and crochet, I feel like you need more than just the magazine to do that these days. I feel like you need to have the YouTube channel, you need to have social media, and it kind of sucks. I mean, we all lived our lives without all of these things. Well, not all of us. There's some of us who always had these things. I'm old,
and I'm older, so yeah.
But a lot of us who are still kicking have lived our lives without many of these tools, but they have made. We're now largely dependent on them. But one of the benefits of a lot of these digital tools is that they are often free or low cost. So doesn't it make more sense, I think, in some instances, to start with a digital brand? And not just in terms of selling patterns, but like maybe doing a YouTube channel where you interview the designers of each of the patterns you would include in an issue. or if you have articles about other topics related to knitting or crochet or what have you, have people come on to talk about those things, or do like panel discussions about certain topics, and really draw people into the brand in that way, to kind of set up your audience a little bit better if you want them to actually make the purchase. And I wouldn't, try to sell issues of a paper magazine throughout the year. Instead, I would maybe do like one or two, or even like a quarterly thing that's just a few patterns, and mostly focus on selling patterns digitally. But there's some people who are really only into paper patterns, and I get that, and you're just not going to move those people. So yes, do smaller runs of just the patterns and not necessarily all of the other things that would be in the magazine. Start there. But everybody comes out the gate printing all this paper, and color printing, y'all, costs money. I don't know that it's still that it makes
model.
Yeah,
because I was, like I told you, I'm a magazine girl. I've always been that. But even when we go to the grocery store, there used to be a bay 3 chunks wide with all kinds of magazines on it. And we were just at the grocery store the other day, and it's one of those sections now. Even if you go to Barnes and Noble, the magazine section has shrunk. Joann's, the magazine section is down to Where Women Craft.
Right?
Yeah, Where Women Craft, and I don't know. I don't even see Stampin' Up anymore. And Stampin' Up.
There's like one stamp magazine.
Yeah,
some scrapbooking
but
or something.
That industry seems to be contracting.
But I feel like there's still a way to reach the audience, and I feel like the magazine isn't where you start. The paper magazine. I feel like the digital media is where you start, and you build that audience, and then you can sell them paper down the road.
And I think paper is becoming a premium product, not the first product out the gate.
Those things, I think that's happening because rather than just make a transition to digital, people who are trying to keep paper alive realize it's more expensive, so now they market it as a premium product. Like, I don't think it's actually gotten any more special, but this is what you have to rely on if you're trying to sell something at those kinds of prices. A magazine for $25 or $30, and then if the magazine doesn't have necessarily what I want to see, if you have a YouTube channel, you can play around and try cover more topics or something, so that you're not betting on that one niche in terms of making money from selling that magazine, and you can see what hits with your audience. I know personally there just aren't any crochet magazines that I've come across that have been useful to me, especially I don't think there's a lot that's always necessarily speaking to designers or people who are learning to make things on their own. There's so much emphasis on selling patterns,
right?
And that's just not where I am anymore. Because Lisa was asking me, well, what do you want to see in a magazine? And one thing, get out the doggone woods, okay? But show me styling these things for different occasions. Show me what you wear to an engagement party. Show me what you wear, traveling. Because, I don't know about anybody else. When I'm going into an airport specifically, I have to have this mix of like comfort. I have to have layers. So if I'm hot on the plane or cold on the plane, I actually put quite a lot of thought into what I wear in an airport.
Yeah.
So show me what you wear for travel. Show me how you transition a particular piece from office to going out to dinner or something. Like, show me these clothes in the real world.
But here's the problem with that. I still maintain that a lot of people who are knitting and crocheting are not making things that they consider to be clothing.
But you don't have to reinforce that. You can show them something different. Right now, that's all they're seeing. Yeah. So that's what they're doing. But if you show people something different, some of them will adopt it. Yeah. And then I would like more discussion about construction. Like I said, I would buy a book that was just schematics. If you just showed me the pieces and the shapes that I needed to make different styles of garment, I'd be very happy with that. So just more discussion about construction, the basics of constructing garments, and what's unique about it in knitting and crochet versus sewing, because that's two different modes, right? Yeah. One, you have a fabric already, and the other one, you're making that fabric, right, one stitch at a time. But things that offer a little bit more education than entertainment. That's what I'm looking for. And I think it becomes more difficult to offer that when you're stuck in this rigid format where, you have to have a single thing that you sell to advertisers to get them to invest, to get them to buy in. So I would like to see more magazines in the craft space become their own little brands, their own little spheres that include, more digital counterparts to the print magazines. I don't know. What do you guys think? Are you buying magazines still? Are there any magazines that you buy regularly as opposed to just buy this issue because you like this pattern?
Honestly, I only have one that I subscribe to, and that's Piecework.
You know, digital subscription?
Yeah. And I think that more magazines should take advantage of the digital format.
Well, publishing as a whole. Now, publishing has very specifically tried to hold back digital.
Yeah.
I think some of this crosses over to book publishing, where they have this format that is so much less expensive to produce. I don't know. Well, I do know. But they're choosing not to take advantage of it because they don't actually want to lower their prices any.
Yeah.
That's something that's just general to the publishing industry.
I'm thinking little things you could do something just as simple. If you're producing something that's a PDF, put a QR code in it with a link to the video, because a lot of patterns, they will have a video link. Now, I happen to like to print out my patterns. I don't like working from a pattern in a digital format. If there was a QR code there and I wanted to look at the video, I could just, access it directly from my phone or my iPad. I wouldn't have to try to type in accurately that awkward. And once things go past a few digits for me, it's an alphabet soup of mess. So it takes me 2 or 3 tries to get the thing typed accurately. But I'm thinking small things like that would just bridge the gap, or if you had some extra information you wanted to impart, you could put that in a QR code and I could just look at it when I wanted to. Because honest to goodness, a lot of knitters and crocheters are not reading your notes anyway. So those of us who will read it, we'll just, click on the QR code.
I feel like for each issue of a magazine, there's probably 5 videos worth of content in it.
At least, yeah.
So if you had those videos to accompany the magazine, you're creating these 5 new opportunities to try to sell that one issue.
Mm-hmm.
I need to see more of that. I do. I need to see discussion happening in more places and more types of discussion. And I feel like, some of the older audience who's reached the level of editors of these magazines, they're still really reluctant to adopt some of these tools, but there is no putting the genie back in the bottle.
No.
It's not going to happen. It's not.
And what's going to happen is that, we were just looking at something, a news piece about Netflix, how it kind of forced change in the entertainment industry. What's going to happen is somebody's going to come along and force change in the magazine industry, or the magazine industry is going to crumble to dust.
In the magazine industry at large, because I was the crafters, they're a very small insular group. I don't know if you can really force change on them.
But in magazine space in general, because I have a pet peeve about digital books, because one of the things they could do is just use a picture of the thing as a table of contents and link that directly to the page it starts on in the book, and they won't do that. Yeah.
I
You have
really,
to scroll through so much.
yes,
Because they're trying to recreate the paper experience of book.
Yeah, I had a couple of digital subscriptions to Crochet magazine, and and the thing is, the numbering in the PDF app is not the same as the page numbering. So even if you're looking for the pattern that's on page 25, it's 25 in the magazine, but it's not page 25 when you scroll.
But this thing could be linked up all over the place, that you could be going back and forth within this magazine. There is no reason to read it page by page as though it was a paper sewn together or glued together.
Yeah.
And that's the experience they're trying to recreate. And I'm like, but why?
It's what they know.
But
it's what they know. And, innovation often takes deep pockets. And most magazines...
But it's still a PDF. It's still a PDF. This is not...
Yes.
We're not building pyramids here.
They could utilize their digital tools.
Yeah. It's still... If you already paid for the Adobe subscription, you can do this. And they clearly paid for the Adobe subscription. No. They just don't want to change the experience. They're replicating an old experience. It's like, I imagine going on a carriage ride through Central Park is really fun as a novelty, but I don't want to actually have to travel that way. Okay? I don't want to do that.
And that's stop and water your horse.
I don't want to stop and water my horse. I don't want to have to wear gloves and carry blankets because it's cold out there in a carriage. And those reins will hurt your hands. So I think a very old-fashioned way of thinking is still kind of ruling publishing space. And I think we can do much better using the tools we already have and not spending any more money, because it would actually be much cheaper to produce the actual digital copies.
So when, new people get into the space, you don't have to do what the old heads are doing. Mm-hmm. You can try some other things. I would really like to see, magazines be the jumping off point for conversation, for discussion about various crafts. And so far, sometimes like a particular article or issue or something will hit, and you'll see a conversation about that happening on social media or something. But it should just be baked into the cake. Mm-hmm. Like, the issue is that you're publishing. These are the things we're going to be talking about for the next month.
On our Discord, which is free. Now, let me talk about what's not free, though. The manpower, in the craft space, usually it's the woman power. That's not free.
No.
So, yes, you're going to have to invest your time in, if you're going to do YouTube videos, in creating the videos. And Lord knows we know how that consumes time. If you're going to host a Discord, you're either going to have to host it yourself or recruit somebody in your community to host it for you. But it's doable, Mm-hmm. But you have to start, I think people need to start thinking like that to make magazines stay relevant. Because I'm going to tell you the facts. I have collected craft magazines for years. I haven't made that much out of those things. I did like the shiny pictures, though. I did.
Yeah, I think I've only made a couple of things out of crochet magazines.
And the question, though, is why is that? What was it about that stuff that, although it moved you to buy the magazine, why didn't it move you to actually make the things? I made more out of that last Noro 20 magazine I bought than out of a whole bunch of other magazines that I bought.
And for me, it was partly just the shift away from patterns in general. Mm-hmm. So that's not the most relevant thing for me anymore, the patterns. There's more that I want from the magazine than just row by row instructions on how to exactly recreate something I saw in the picture. And, that audience is out there. So, y'all might want to think about speaking to us a little bit too. But this was just like, a conversation we fell into. So I was wondering what other people thought about thought about it. So I thought, hey, let's talk about it in a video.
Yeah.
So just let us know where you are on the whole magazine thing. Do you like paper? Do you like digital? Is there anything you actually subscribe to?
Mm-hmm.
What's happening out there? Because I don't know anymore. But yeah, I think that was all I wanted to put before the audience.
And for real, we'd love to hear from what you think. Let us know. Right? I think that's it for us today. Yeah. Have a good week, everybody.
Stay stitching.